Chapter 1.5, The Origin of Cells. There's your understandings. I'm not going to read them to you. I think this unit is pretty self-explanatory. So they used to think that cells arose from spontaneous generation, meaning that if you had like rotting meat in the fridge, the cells of the fungus, excuse me, or whatever, just arose from non-living matter. But a series of experiments disproved that. In the 1600s, Reddy put meat in the open air, and he put meat in like a vacuum sealed container, and maggots only came with the to the meat that was exposed to air. Pasteur used swan-necked flasks to show that fungus does not grow in boiled nutrient broth without contact with air. So he had nutrient broth that would turn cloudy with fungus if it was exposed to air, but if he bent the flask so that air could not get into it, no fungus would grow. Origin of the first cells must have happened in a series of stages over long periods of time. So Uri used methane, hydrogen, and ammonia, plus electricity to make amino acids and sugars. Basically, they replicated the early atmosphere of methane, hydrogen, and ammonia, and electricity simulated lightning. So they're showing that organic molecules like amino acids and sugars could come from inorganic atmospheric and electricity. Deep sea vents, we call these like underwater volcanoes in freshman year. They carry inorganic chemicals that could have been a source of energy for assembling carbon polymers. And then membranes readily form bilayers, allowing for a different internal chemistry than that of the surroundings. So membranes are key here. So that's why all of our organelles are membrane, and the cells are membrane bound. That allows it to separate its insides from that of its environment. And finally, for DNA to replicate, enzymes are needed. But how did we get enzymes if we need enzymes to make enzymes? Basically, there's the RNA world hypothesis that said RNA was the first genetic material, and RNA can self-replicate, and RNA can have its own enzymatic activity. So RNA was key. Finally, endosymbiotic theory explains the origin of eukaryotic cells. So what this states is that mitochondria, which makes ATP, and chloroplasts, which do photosynthesis, were once free-living prokaryotic organisms. So they supplied aerobic respiration, mitochondria did, and photosynthesis to larger cells that engulfed them. Each has their own genes on a circular chromosome, just like a prokaryote. They have their own ribosomes that resemble prokaryotic ribosomes, and they each can only be made by the division of pre-existing mitochondria and chloroplasts. You can't make new ones inside the cell, unlike other organelles that can be made. And we will talk about cell division next.